Hello. I'm desperately trying to set up the camera that in a way that it won't do this. Look, it's listing there. We're in the garden and things are always precarious in the garden, and I've already got all painting. Now, I had paintings I wanted to show you. We're in Plein April. I've decided to call it Plein April rather than Plein April because it's so hard to pronounce Plein April. Um, But I have been doing plenty of stuff anyway. Watch the birds while I'm talking for a minute. But why not come in the garden, you see? I thought, because the day wasn't too bad. And then I realised it might rain. And I ended up with all sorts of contingency plans for a semi tent, i.e., a large umbrella to go up. Then that got messy. So plein air isn't easy because there's all this setting up goes on and you have to bring out gear with you and everything. This week has been very good for me though, I think, because I got a very light little kit um, for my oil paints. I'm always messing with my kit. But if you want to see what we're doing today, I'll show you and I'll try and set up my camera while I'm showing you. Blink and you'll miss this, but I'll explain it afterwards, okay? Told you, blink and you'll miss it. Um, it's about Monet as opposed to Manet. There's Monet and there's Manet, and to confuse matters more, there's a painting called Déjeuner, Le Déjeuner sur l'herbe, and both Monet and Manet each did a painting called Le Déjeuner sur l'herbe, and it's kind of a luncheon party or a picnic. But in Monet's version, um, he's got a lot of artists in it. But I have this uh, thing that I reckon uh, they were early kind of plein air painters, right? There've been plein air painters around for a long time, but with the invention of oil paints in tubes, there were a lot more plein air painters going out and painting in the countryside. And, you know, Monet, you probably know he's French. He sort of came after the Fontainebleau painters who were sort of the Barbizon school of painting. And they like going out to these the forests about 40 miles from Paris and painting. And you know, it's a carrying on of that tradition, but it's a very strong tradition in French painting of landscape painting. A bit like in the Netherlands, there's a very strong tradition of it too. So it's a good idea to look at the masters and see can we learn something from it. And you could see in today's thumbnail the picture we're going to learn things from, hopefully learn things from. Um, I have small printouts of it as well. It's actually just a detail we're working with today. And this is the detail. And this is a huge painting. And if you want to get an idea of the size of the painting, on the community tab, I've posted, I think it's 4 images. And one of the images is a photo of Monet in his studio showing off just this panel of the painting to a friend who dropped in. And you can see how enormous just that panel over the 3-panel painting was. So obviously he didn't do this whole thing outside, but he did numerous studies. And in fact, the kind of full version of it we have, this is in Moscow, a museum in Moscow, the Pushkin Museum apparently. And this is an 1866 version. So he tried to do another version later. Presumably, he had more things that this was a big study for, and he had more he wanted to say in the other version. Um, but the right panel of this one is now lost. And we have the central panel and the left panel. And I was lucky enough to see these in the Musée d'Orsay, which is where you can go and see them. but we're also lucky to have them on Wikimedia Commons. And the Musée d'Orsay, if you look at their article in English about it, you can read up about the history of this, which is interesting enough in itself. But what I want to do is look at kind of this section of the painting today and do a little bit of painting. And this is because, and you can see really in the big version of this how masterful the whole composition is. He's got the problem of working at a huge scale, which is always going to be quite challenging for brushwork and just handling really solid composition and everything, and then distortion that happens at a large scale. But he's also got to hold together this landscape and all the people in it. There's quite a lot going on, and he does it really beautifully by having islands of very pale colour and warm colour then in the middle of that pale colour island, because in this piece you see the orange of that woman's face and the warmth of all the fruit and everything they had on their picnic. And I had a little luncheon picnic this week as well, because the weather had been so good. It's iffy today and was raining yesterday, but hopefully it'll hold for the hour I'm out here. So a warm color always brings your eye in. So she's the focal point of the whole picture, really. And a painting like this, it has to have a composition that brings your eye in and a focal point, but it also has to balance in terms of colors and harmonies and things. And so they're the elements that I want to learn from today. And what better way to learn than to paint? But it's a monster of a composition as well. So much going on in it in terms of composition, color, and tone. So I'm only picking a detail. And as I say, these are two different paintings, just to be clear. So it's actually this one I'm going to look at, but I might look at some of the foliage in this one as well, okay? And if you want to know why am I so interested in that one, I'll show you. I'll show you that, like, I'm not just randomly making things up, that your ideas about painting, you have these thoughts and you're developing your thoughts over the weeks, even during a time period like Plein April, when you're sort of, because of social media, really encouraged to come up with something new and different and brilliant every day, which is a very, very tall order. Um, but as every artist knows, if you're not learning, you're not enjoying your art and your painting and your drawing. So my priority, like most artists, is to learn. But what I wanted to learn was stuff that was going to help me with spring foliage, because I had all these things that had buds breaking out that were really what my paintings are kind of about at the moment, really. Um, I can see a little tiny sponge heading across the lawn. If you'll excuse me for a moment, I'll cover that before I go. I never do paint. I'll be talking as well. Honest, I promise. But the lead up to this, right, was last week, right? We were experimenting, or I was experimenting and encouraging people to experiment and doing some of these things. And I sort of wanted to look at sort of dottiness things, and that was why I was looking at them. It was because of that painting and wanting to develop it really. So I had done this on the 17th of April, and you know, um, the gouache colorized and everything, the gouache sinks a little bit. And I said, I want to go back and do more with that. And I went back and did a oil painting. But I've uploaded a short about this. I actually did. I've been working with some color schemes. So I worked out a color scheme before I went. And then I went back to do plein air oil painting. And if I can show it to you without wrecking myself, I can show you what. I was working on this morning, still wet. So I did some of the work on the spot, and you can see where I was up to from that short that I uploaded, possibly yesterday, would be in the day before. I think it was yesterday. But I worked on it more this morning, um, because although I'd planned out the color scheme and everything, it's very hard anyway to do a whole painting on the spot because you can't really see what you have, and you're always going on wanting to do things afterwards. I find that high risk because you can ruin a painting, but at the same time you want to learn. So I said to myself, okay, I will work on it a little bit. And I think it's better. It's in a better state than it was color wise. It's a lot more joined up thinking in it. And more importantly, it's come along hugely since last year because I painted somewhere in the same spot. Somebody's got a little fire going, probably in the garden, burning off leaves or something like that. Nice, so it smells nice. Um, so this is what I wanted all the dottiness work for. I was thinking about this. And at this time in Plein Air, April, if you're doing it, and there aren't that many people doing it, there's 80 something channels doing it. A lot of those people might be posting on Instagram though, because I'm not seeing that many people posting on YouTube. But plein air stuff is something that if somebody's interested in doing it, they're interested in doing it like for the whole rest of the summer and everything, at least, even if they're living somewhere where the weather is terrible in the winter and it's hard to get out. So you've got time in this last week of Plan April, really. And you do anyway. It's all an illusion, social media pressure to post things and everything. Um, you've got time to have a look at what you've done and say to yourself, okay, what am I learning and where do I want to go with this? Because it is about learning and exploring, and that's what keeps you painting or drawing. So I'm comparing this to what I did last year and saying, am I learning something? Am I learning what I set out to learn? Am I starting to learn? Is it showing up in my work yet? Basically, is what I'm asking. So I'm still working on the same subject today, the whole dotty, dappled thing of light hitting leaves. But in this case, in this particular painting that I've chosen, it's about light hitting leaves on a sunny day. Okay, and when you saw me, pointing the camera at the tree that time last year in the summer, I sat and painted foliage in that tree and did a few lives showing people how you can go into your own garden, paint things around you and everything. But that was when I was looking at the light hitting it, and every time it came out, it was just. Um, so just before I leave the topic of what I did during the week, just to show you that the oil paintings, as promised, that was part of the plan, what I wanted to learn. I wanted to do quick oil paintings that are kind of oil studies rather than finished, very polished paintings. So there'd be things with these that I wouldn't be 100% happy with, maybe, but things also that I feel I'm learning from, you know? So different pieces of your work are going to have different functions and everything. So I have to handle those carefully because they're still drying as well. That's all kind of equal. So some of those pieces had multiple pieces associated with them. Some were just a once-off thing. Um, so for something like that, I might plan to keep going back to that spot and keep doing other studies from it. And things like this. Um, I know I seem to talk a lot, but these are useful little tips to think about. Is this helpful for you in your work at all? See, I had done a painting there, but the day before I had done a color study that it's in gouache. You see how dark it is compared to the painting? The color was going on the same, but the color was sinking into dark purple background because gouache reanimates. So different media are going to do different things. But I had done two things. I had done a colour study and I had done a tonal study as well to split the problem up. So there was a lot of work went on before any sort of attempt at a painting was made. I could have gone straight into painting, but what I'm trying to point out is that it's worth going back and back and back. And this is what Monet did with that painting. So it's well worth looking at that painting. Or, maybe not his, maybe somebody else's, maybe somebody like Camille Corot was a great person to look at for Plein Air. It's the same sort of period, slightly earlier. Courbet, somebody like that, who Monet would have known. Um, and Renoir and Manet and the Impressionists had their act together. Okay, I need to find a right sketchbook to do this in and those references. And there's a link under the video to where to get this file if you want to examine it closely. And there's stuff on the community tab for images. Over there. And to look at an artist in their studio in those days, I love it when they have photos. Sketch pad. Here we go. Just had it in my hand a minute ago and I've already got. So I'm going to skip a page here because this isn't a paper. And I'm just going to use washes. I should have maybe kept my oils out, but I didn't fancy getting that messed up with all the equipment out today. I've broken the screen on my phone for the second time. Got a new chip in it that's I can see a crack right across the screen. So that possibility of doing things like that has just increased so much when you're trying to handle a phone and paint with oils as well. It's just very tricky. So the particular thing I want to look at in these, and you won't see them great for my printouts because they're just an idea, but I know what it is that I'm trying to look at. And really, you might not have the same things you're working with if you're doing plein air. You are going to be working with light, of course you are, but you mightn't be kind of interested in the play of light through leaves. You might be interested in light over mountains, or you might be interested in sky or in sort of vast landscapes. We're all into different things, but some ideas that I have about how I'm approaching analysing a painter who's very good at plein air is something that you might like to think about. Well, what painter would I look at, to do this? No, I might even get a whole lot of work done, but because I'm so sort of balancing things up. But we'll see. We'll see how I get along. The other thing about plein air, of course, is the discomfort. You just get used to the discomfort. You're always sitting at a funny angle. When I was doing those rocks, I was kind of sitting on a sloped rocks, and my behind was so dead by the time I got up. How I didn't fall down the rocks, I don't know. Uh, you have that feeling you're sort of falling all the time, but I lived to tell the tale. The other thing that I have been doing, and I'm trying to get myself in shot here, and dare I try to move the camera to a different angle. The other thing I'm trying to do is work with a limited palette at the moment. That is very handy when you go out. So let's say you have some cyan, I have some very dirty yellow in there. That's extremely dirty. Hang on, I think I've got another thing yellow because I knew what bad a state that one was in. I actually have to clean that. It's been out and about a lot and it's a ghastly state. So this has lead stuck on it first. So a cyan type of a blue, cerulean is basically a yellow with a kind of a primer yellow, which is kind of between a lemon and a chrome, and a red, which is a magenta. Okay, but mine is more of an alizarin, but it'll do me. So they're the colours I've been working with, and white and black. So that cuts it down what you have to carry around, but also, for example, that picture by the river, I worked with just those colours, and I introduced an extra blue in an ultramarine blue because it's very hard to get the right kind of blue, the river. So it's good for doing getting a harmony in something when you've got a lot going on in a landscape. I found that very useful. And that has helped me up my skills this year doing that. I started trying to do it last year, but um, progress can be very slow in art, you see. So patience is required with these things, really. So I'm going to mix up a green with my cerulean and my yellow. And when I say a green, I can mix up a variety of greens, can't I? So there's a lovely, I'm using this a bit watercolory, but it's kind of a cool green. I'll mix a warmer one to show you what I mean. With more yellow, right? But you can also mix up mossy greens just with if I can find which one is the black, because I tend to get this. No, no, that's blue. I don't want that. I've got a very dark blue in here that looks like black as well, and my brown looks like theirs. So I only use the dirty yellow. This. So with the black, look how mossy it goes. So that's just the yellow. It's not even the blue in there with it. So that's a handy color as well. So I've three different things going on there. Let's look at it in relation to the picture. So hopefully you can see something of the color in this. It's a bit overcast today, so you might be able to see it. But as I say, the link is underneath. Um, you know, people say they learn things from looking at paintings, but you kind of need to do a little bits of copying things as well to really start learning, I think. So there's stuff going on in this, and it was interesting to me when I looked at it. I haven't started painting them yet, but I did notice something here that's different about each of these versions of the painting. How the light is hitting the um, brightest of these is which colour is put on first. If we had decided that the dark green was this dark green that I've mixed up, the mossy kind of green, and then there's a mid green, we'll decide is that kind of a green. And then there's a yellow green, which we'll decide is that green, the third green that I've mixed up. Which of those goes on first? Actually, when I'm looking at the two different paintings, I've decided that they're constructed slightly differently. That I'm not convinced that in all parts of this the yellow went on first, but it did in this one, I reckon. But you know, it's probably gone on first, and then bits have been re-established afterwards, like where he's painting back and forth a little bit. But so let's say that that mass there is going to be that yellow. If I was doing this in oil paints, which Monet would have been using, that'd be thinned out with white spirits or turps or something like that. A medium to make it more fluid, you see. Just for putting something on thin. Now, you don't always do that. You don't always paint on a thin wash and then put stuff on. Um, you can paint just impasto or, just sort of mid thickness. So let's look at the mid green, and it's this kind of green he puts on next. It's actually a slightly darker version of that. And if nothing else, even if you're not sort of doing this for a particular painting or anything that you can see any immediate benefit of it, it makes you look at the painting that you're examining in a critical light. So you're getting more out of it. It's what you call active learning. You're not sitting there passively looking at the thing and saying, well, I know all about that painting now. So we can do things like look at the brush strokes now. And I don't think that the brush strokes on that tree were made with brush like that. I think the brush it was made with the paddle around your top. But I don't want to reach all the way over there because I'm in a very uncomfortable position. So I am not going to go with that. So I'm going to say that's not quite as dark. If I wanted to be a bit more exact, I could introduce black. I've introduced too much though. Hang on, it's black. I just have a little bit of black to bring down the color. So you see how that's a bit nearer, and you see the way the marks I'm making are a little bit too pointy. So one of the things I've noticed about this week is that some of the brushwork quality of my paintings have suffered from the fact I'm concentrating so much on colour and tone. Um, but at least I understand why that happened, so I don't mind too much, you see. Now, so that's basically the way he's doing that tree, and then he has some really dark areas, but he's also introduced some red in there. And red and yellow is going to give you a nice brown if you mess around with the proportions. Try to talk loud as usual. Well, actually, I'm as near to the mic as I normally am. So, the other thing about this painting, right? There's one other thing I want to do, the blue. And I think it's the same issue here with the blue as I had. I don't think he's working with the limited palette, which start, right? But the kind of blue that he's using some very vibrant kind of a blue, and even in the earlier version, it's more a purpley blue than a cyany blue. So this is kind of the same thing I had going at the river color wise, that I had decided on this blue coming into things a bit, which was a French ultramarine. So he might have done something ultramarine there. I don't know if that is exactly the blue he used, but it's not too bad a guess for the sky. But he's also used it. This is really basic colour mixing stuff here, but on analysing what's happening where in the painting as well. So that would be, if I wanted to analyse this in terms of how does it apply to my limited palette, of getting on okay with the limited palette, being able to replicate these kinds of colours, but I'm having to introduce that outside blue again for sky, just the way I did in my river painting for a little bit of the water, the very reflective foreground of the water. And when you do that in a limited palette painting, you want to sort of just make sure you're not introducing too many what you call outside colours like that. And if you do, make them the focal point if you're introducing a colour like that. And this is why I noticed this it's a wonderful painting. I mean, I love it anyway. But I noticed it because of his use of blue in it, you see, and how wonderfully he used that to bring it in. So for the center of the painting, he has the sky, and it's really beautiful against the green of the leaves. But the blue is also beautiful. You might have a little bit of cerulean in it. Actually, yeah, that's more like the blue. It's a mix between cerulean and ultramarine. Um, he's picked it up in her headdress, thing on her shoulder, edging on her dress, and down here the artist is holding a rag of the same colour. And it's wonderful because it brings you right into this lovely orange of the girl in the middle, which otherwise would be in a very, very dark um, and tonal area. But he's leading the eye in a really great way. So hang on, I'm gonna have to move slightly. Oh, the camera has moved. I put my palette down on a little stool I have beside me, and the the whole tripod has kind of tilted a bit. But I'm trying to get it that you can actually see what I'm painting here as well. You don't want to just listen to me yak on. And I can't see the screen very well either. So we'll say that is her headdress, okay? We're not trying to replicate the painting. We're trying to understand colours in it, okay? So don't give out to me that it's not going to turn out. People talk about doing master studies of paintings and they end up with these terribly finished looking things. And I go, yeah, that's great, but there could be a lifetime just doing the master study. So there are other things happening in this part of the painting that I think are just terrific. I'm going to try and get my paint back here. And the things that are happening are he has some colours going, and it's getting a little bit more complicated because he's got a band of white here, which is grand, but he's got dark colours beside her, including the blue. So the blue really sort of lights up beside those dark kind of browny, ochre sort of colours, right? Just trying to get that darkness suggested there. And right around her head. So there, we'll say that's actually the band of her head there. So it's quite dark over it. So this is a colour analysis we're doing, and I suppose form to a certain extent, the colour analysis of a plein air master. So in here, there are skin colours going on, and you can probably guess how to make skin colour. We've only really got the three colours to play with, say, and black and white. So it's yellow, red, in whatever proportion you feel is giving you the skin colour you want, and then bring it up with some white. So we've got that lovely warm surprise of colour in the middle, you see, and it's our hand. But also it gets more orangey, so more yellow in my red there. For her face. And then this dark brown, which is just add black and red. And really, like, he's not just kind of making up these effects. The effects are there, but he's probably added to them or might have changed the ladies' dresses or something, to get some of those effects. I don't really know what they were actually wearing on the day or days. I don't know how many studies he did of the models. Right? It'd be interesting, you see, when you get really interested in a particular painting, you can go off, make a study of it, and try and find out everything you can about that painting. Little bit of obsession is kind of fun in these things. So you see, you could even do this as a tonal study and learn a lot. And I'm not. I only meant to do this bit, and I just became so interested in what's happening over here. So there are things like little bands of white, and it's great what he does with the white throughout this painting. I haven't got it white enough there, but um, he's got it playing along the edge of things there, and then he's got the greys. But some of the greys, even in the greys, he's done other things because although he's not like super obsessed with detail or anything in this, he is very good with color. And what he's done is he's done a little purpley bit for the top of her. If I can do this, show you this without knocking a whole lot over. I don't know if you can see it, but the top of her bodice is a very pale purplish grey, as opposed to the other, which is a greenish grey. And that's a very plein air colour situation going on. That really is, it shows good observational skills because that would be very unusual to get that kind of lighting indoors. So it's somebody standing in shade under the tree kind of lighting, isn't it? So it's so clever, but just seen really well. So this would explain to you why he's gone out and done so many studies and two versions of painting. And you see, that's why this is kind of with the same. I'm not comparing myself to Monet in any other way because I'm just a poor place as a painter compared to him. But this is why I'm going back to the same place and trying again with things. I'm not trying exactly the same thing again, but every time I'm going, I'm saying, okay, I think I got the hang of that bit, but not this bit. I'm going back to try and learn something about that bit. So you kind of have to keep going back to get what you want. It doesn't all happen at the same day. Not if you want to do a sustained painting. If you wanted to do a color study, you're set up. And I think sometimes people don't understand the difference between a finished painting and sketchbook work and color studies and things, what the function is of each of those. If somebody mentions them, they go, not really sure what they mean by that, you know. And there's this thing of thinking everything has to be a finished picture, which it can't be. Not if you're learning. It can't. Not everything can be a finished thing if you're learning. So never feel bad about abandoning a picture in the middle. You know, I could walk away from this drawing and saying, yeah, that's it. I'm not trying to do a finished picture out of this. I'm trying to learn something about this. I want to learn about like that green beside that purple and how does that work. And I want to give myself time to just kind of be with it as well and get into it, you know, because your mind is kind of doing work anyway for you. Your unconscious is working on the problem. I mean, I tried before working in trees, and you come back, and the next time you go out, you might notice that something that related to that thing you were looking at comes up again and helps you with something. Or it might be a year later. or it mightn't at all, I suppose. But it's still been of some benefit to you to do it. I am struggling here to get the colour I want, because why am I struggling? Because I have too much white here and I'm too lazy to find a cloth. And I do have cloth, but so awkward to move. And I've used my tissue for propping up underneath the tripod. So these are the issues. Okay. I've gone quiet because I'm having difficulty with this colour. I've ended up with the purple. He didn't have a purple. He had a green. Very deep green. How does that happen? With black, yellow. That's more like it. Actually, just trying to get some of the colours beside some of the colours that make it pop. Let's do the head of this person in the middle, and then we'll have a look at down here, just to show you, because it's good to look at the overall design of the painting as well. You know, you can. Oh my goodness, it's going to rain in a minute. I'm going to go in now in a minute because it's going to rain, but we do have time to do that. See, I have my computer and my phone and everything out here, and not good cover today. But you know, we had enough time to do what we wanted to do, study. And I didn't want to talk about Manet and Plein Air and be inside doing it really. I was going to. And then the weather wasn't too bad, and I said, I don't know, I think I can manage to be outside. So there's another figure, but she's much further down. But I just want to try and get the colour. Oh, the wind is picking up. The rain is next, folks. Another hazard of thin air. That was the other thing about the river one. Started lashing rain in the middle. I had a brolly, but like you could see my palette that I was mixing the colours in. It's just get destroyed. Water and oil don't mix, but at the same time, try mixing up your colours. I'm not out of shot. So that in the middle of everything, and then with dark framing around it, is the other wonderful thing about this paint, and the wonderful blue then coming up. Drags your eye in, red and blue, you see. And down here, her dress is a confection of white and blue. And that is the center of the painting. It keeps your eye in it. Further anchored down by the lovely picnic warm peaches and things in it. And then you've got beautiful blue dappling of light. So it's a masterful painting, and little kind of shafts of light hit the tree and everything. So do have a look at the painting. Check out the full things on the community tab. Check out the link underneath. And I'm going to run in because the first drops of rain are starting, and I don't want the rest of my equipment getting wrecked because I won't be able to make any more videos at all. So I hope you don't mind if I leave you a little bit early and run in, picnic basket again. And I hope you get out to do some plein air, or just even a stroll plein air would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, folks. I also have to unhook the camera just to get at the bye bye. But take care. Bye. Have a good weekend.